getting unstuck. Now, I don't know if you've ever been there, but I think many of us have experienced either being there, feeling like we've been there, and it's not fun. It's not fun because, especially when you become an adult, let's look at it for what it is. When you become an adult, meaning you have your own apartment, condo, house, whatever it may be, and you're living life on life's terms, quote unquote, you're supposed to have it all together, right? You know the decisions to make, you know the right moves. Well, I want to share three things that we can do or that you may need to identify that will help you get unstuck. There's a lot of things that we all do. And sometimes life has its challenges, and some of the challenges are much worse than others. Let's keep it real. But we don't always understand that, especially when you're in that unsettling or that uncomfortable space. I think we have busy lifestyles, meaning that you have your job or your business or and your family, and you got to take care of the kids, and you got to do the grocery shopping, you got to pay the bill. Like that list can go on and on and on. And those things are important and they're necessities, but that's part of having a busy life. That's what we do, as adults in this society. But sometimes we have a busy body lifestyle. And I think you know where that's leading to. The busybody lifestyle simply, it just takes up and eats up your time. And there's no rhyme or reason for it other than the fact that it's a waste of time, a way to spend time. And that's what it's actually doing. It's spending time. It's using your time versus you having the ability to utilize your time. See, there's a big difference when you're getting used and when you are utilizing something. One has no end. It's just a waste. The other, it has value, which builds or goes somewhere. It amounts to something. So that's really the big difference between having a busy lifestyle and a busy body lifestyle. Now, to be quite honest, some of us, we get torn because we have a little bit of both. We've got the busy body lifestyle creeping into our busy lifestyle. And that busy lifestyle, it doesn't need anything else to pull at it. It doesn't need anything else to minimize the energy that's required or just to slow it down. It doesn't need additional obstacles and hurdles, but yet the busy body lifestyle sometimes seeps in. Now, the thing is, you always have to have time for, I guess, some frivolous activities that don't amount to anything, just to take your mind off of things, just to digress, just to cool out, as we say, or chill, right? But we have to be very careful that as you're in that space, you don't get so comfortable with chilling, relaxing, chillaxing, that you don't get things done, and that becomes more of your focus, and it can be very easily done. I know when I first started getting into the gaming world with PlayStation and Nintendo back in the day, as a functioning and working adult, I could not wait to get home just to play the game. And then when a new game was coming out, I could not wait to talk to the other guys about the new game and get in line and stand there for hours and hours, anticipating receiving my copy and then anticipating getting home to load it. It has its moments, but it's a waste. Now, one of the things you need to be able to identify in order to get unstuck, you really need to know what pleases you. What is it that you get excited about? What is it that you have a good time with? What is it that makes you excited, And that's your pleasure. What is your pleasure? There's certain things I talked about before that are really just meaningless. And then there are other things that build value. And you need to know the difference between the two when you're identifying what your pleasure is. The meaningless things like, for instance, gambling, happy hour, the buffet. I mean, yeah, to some degree we need, as far as the buffet, we need food. Happy hour, you don't need the happy hour. Gambling, you don't need the gambling, although every day is sort of like a risk, right? Those things don't have a ROI. There is no return on investment. But the things that have value, the things that build value, are things like things that are mentally stimulating, things that are educational, things that maybe you can monetize. There, you get a return on your investment. It doesn't matter what the literal thing is. If it's mentally stimulating, if it's something you've learned, which is educational to you, and it enhances your intellect, if it's something that is able to be monetized, those things are they have value. And if those things, the educational and the mentally stimulating themselves, can be monetized, it's even better. Because, see, understand, everything that's educational isn't going to be something that you can monetize, because you can learn about wildlife, you can learn about cooking, you can learn about so many different things. Doesn't mean it's going to be monetized. Okay. It may even be mentally stimulating, those topics I just mentioned. It does not mean that it's going to be monetized. But if it is something that you can monetize because you have that level of interest in that thing, then that's a win-win. And I would highly recommend take it seriously, invest more of your resources in that particular thing because it has value and it means something to you. Now, if it means that much to you, you may realize that I'm pretty passionate about this. I get excited when I talk about it. I get excited when I'm around it. I get excited anticipating doing it. And it's the kind of thing that you want to do 24/7. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, here's the thing. You may find yourself around people who don't have a passion at all, or don't have a passion for what you have a passion about, and they may want to rain on your parade. Some people may not want to rain on your parade. They're just totally not interested, and they're going to go in the other direction. That's fine. You cannot afford to let someone else's lack of interest take away from your desires, your true passion, because it's important to you. Your passion can be a bunch of different things. It could be academic, it could be social, it could be recreational, it could be artistic, it could be educational. If you're a person that really loves learning, whatever it may be, that thing is for you. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us have family members that we're pretty close with, but you know what? When it comes to the type of people we are, it's night and day. They are literally nothing like us. The commonalities that we have are very minimum. If there was 5 things, there may be only 1 or 2. One, the fact that maybe you're drawn in common by blood or by name, right? Which is almost the same thing. Maybe you live in the same place, but those other 3 things, there may be nothing in common. They may be a polar opposite of who you are, of how you are, and of the things that you like to do, the places you like to go, the types of friends you have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be able to know that. Don't let someone's passion that is different from yours, don't let them sway you away from your own. And I tell people a lot of times, you cannot afford to let people in your space. Now, your personal space, you definitely do not want them to be there if they're a negative person. That's a fact. Capital F, capital A, capital C, capital T. Fact, right? However, sometimes you can't make them not be around because you may live in the same house or same residence, whatever it may be. But you have to realize you cannot expect those people to applaud you. You cannot expect those people to support you, promote you. Sometimes they are angry. Sometimes they are against you. Sometimes they just haven't identified their own thing, and maybe they never will. So you cannot expect them to be someone or in some way that they're authentically not. A person that's a sad person no matter what you say or do, will always be a sad person. And you know what the phrase is? A man convinced against his will is of the same mind still, right? So you need to understand that for what it is, because that's how it is. No sense in beating yourself up or trying to convince someone to be different. Leave them be. Just go out and do your thing, whether it's because of a business or it's just personal lifestyle choices. Enjoy yours, especially in a time like now where you may not be able to go and come the way you normally would, and you're limited with how you do things. You have to watch everything you do for safety's sake. So you don't want to make yourself more miserable, more confined, more at odds, because that energy has been thrust upon all of us. So getting unstuck, it's important that you understand what is it that you like. I mean, even if it was just crossword puzzles. Now, I understand you cannot monetize crossword puzzling, at least not yet. But if that's your pleasure, then enjoy it. And your passion, whatever your passion is, if you have found something that can be monetized, if you have found something that helps other people, volunteering, right? Doing something in your place of worship, doing something in your community. If you have found something, don't let anything get in your way. You know, as another tidbit, I tell people, you cannot afford to let people in your space, your personal space, but most importantly, you cannot afford to let people in your mental space. And when you let people rent room in your headspace, your dreams will surely catch a fire, burn up, and die or wither away. You know, and it's sad. Sometimes you just have to prove to people or show them. So I just highly recommend that you find a way of, how would I say it, tempering yourself. You find a way of getting yourself in a space or a place that you can be at peace with you, so that your dreams aren't pulled and thrust all over the place and picked apart and, shot down and stepped on. And the things that make you happy, that they stay alive within you. That's important. But the most important thing, which is your third tip, the first one is find whatever your pleasure is, and the second one was find whatever you're passionate about. And one can lead to the other. And finally, the thing that you're passionate about, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, they may be your purpose. I'm talking about your life purpose. And, it may be amazing to you that you didn't realize it, or that you didn't know it for a long time. And lo and behold, you get a lot older and you're finally deciding or discovering what your purpose is. Excuse me. So there's nothing wrong with that. The key is you have to know who you are. Yeah, that's kind of challenging, but it may sound strange, but many of us, we've gone from infancy to adulthood without truly knowing who we are. When I made the phrase, find your pleasure, find your passion, find your purpose, it was because I had a great idea and it seemed like it was too elementary for adults. So I used it for young people. And that idea, the 3 Ps, was shifted or changed. It was transitioned into the Radiate the Brain book series, right? So it's all about how we think, something that adults would address. Now, there are a lot of children are just as intelligent, which is surprising for some people. But these 3 Ps, the pleasure, the passion, the purpose, I think one of the most important things in your purpose is that you truly know who you are. You truly understand what makes you tick. You understand what you don't like. And as it relates to getting unstuck, the more you are in tune with who you are, the more you know who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you work, what makes you excited, what you excel at, what you can do 24/7, what you can talk about all day and all night, the more I would say that you know who you are and you know what your life's mission is. If you do not know your life's mission, it's going to be very difficult for you to fulfill it. And it's going to be very difficult for you to have that level of success that you really want. You see, success is measurable. Most people measure it through dollars and cents, and that is one way to measure it. But dollars and cents do not equate to happiness. So many people put their trust and their faith and their all in all in happiness. There's this thing called not social awareness, the word is almost trying to escape me, quality of life. See, if you get QOL, excuse me, if you have QOL, quality of life, you are a very fortunate person because with quality of life comes richness, comes happiness, comes liberty, comes freedom. And you don't have to, have a widget. You don't have to have a special drink or you don't have to have a special device. You just innately have quality of life, which allows all the things we interact with, all the things that we engage with, they're important, but it doesn't change the fact that you are at peace within yourself. So getting unstuck is important, but you need to know what the three P's are as it relates to you. You need to know what makes you pleasurable, what you find pleasurable. You need to know what you're passionate about, and you need to know that those two things will lead you to your purpose. I get excited about it because I know that my purpose is helping people, changing difficulty into simplicity. And most of that is through behavior and mindset. Many of us don't seem to realize that, and some people seem to reject it. And I'm going to share a secret with you. You don't need a 12-year degree to stumble upon how to find that space. Now, if you do that, fantastic. I'm sure your vocabulary will indicate that every time you open your mouth and speak about it. But it's about being able to identify all those things with your third eye because your spirit is open and because you're using a little bit of common sense and not letting the world's influence tell you who you are. And with that being said, as I always say, share this out, ask questions, make comments, please. I would love the fact that you're, first of all, taking time to view this information, but I would love the opportunity to also respond to you. Radiate the brain and change the game.